If you're a high school center mid and you want to make sure that you're improving as fast as possible, even while you're in season, I've got the strategy that you can copy. So in this video, I'm going to break the whole thing down. Why in-season training is so important, the 3 different parts of this in-season strategy, and the advanced tip at the end that will really put everything together. By the way, if you're new here, my name's Chris. I went from just being an average player in high school to being the D1 captain at the College of Charleston. And now I help center mids across the country develop their games so they can get to the next level. This stuff is all I do all day long. So first of all, why is in-season training so important? You already know that you need to be playing at your best during season. That's when you have ID camps and you're racking up game film to send out to college coaches. And you're also playing at showcases and tournaments. And after all, if you're not performing, then college coaches won't notice you and then you'll just be stuck with no offers. And if you're anything like I was, that feeling makes you sick. So you need to be dialed in during these months. And the thing is that summer training isn't what's going to separate you from the other talented recruits out there, because everyone can train when it's summer. It's the work that gets done during season that determines your career. And since you will have less time overall to train on your own, that means every minute matters way more. So now you can probably see that if you can get in-season training right, you've got the cheat code to standing out. But before I keep going, I know what you're probably thinking. Chris, I'd love to train more in season, but I'm already training almost every day with my team, and I have 1 or 2 games to stack on top of that. So how do I do it without overtraining or getting injured? Don't worry, in the next few minutes, I'll explain exactly how. But first, you need to understand the difference between in-season and off-season training. So we already know that in-season training means that you're spending less time at the field. And that means that your focuses for these sessions are to prime yourself for games, not necessarily to develop an entire new skill. Off-season training, on the other hand, means that you're spending more time at the field. So this is where you can really establish muscle memory for a certain part of your game or get good at something new. But the thing is, if you think that training has to look the same throughout the entire year, that's where you're getting things completely wrong. They have their own benefits. It just happens to be that in-season training will translate more directly to your game performances because you can see your mistakes, fix them, and know exactly where you're at with your game. And that's what really matters. And when you use these 3 methods to train in season that I'm about to explain, you'll be performing at your best. First of all, you need to train your ideal game moment. Do this. Think of your 10 out of 10 self, the one that has all the D1 offers, walks into school and everyone turns their head because they know he's the best center mid in the city and he plays confident every single game. What's the one very specific game situation that he's really good at? Pretty much the reason why he has so many offers. This is your ideal game moment. For me, it was receiving in the half space, turning and driving at the defender, doing a quick 1v1 move, and then finishing. I knew that the D1 version of me would be really great at that. But so many center mids make the mistake of just following random drills off of TikTok, and they're just wasting their time. And that's why you have that feeling where you finish a week knowing that you worked hard and spent a lot of time at the fields, but not sure if you actually made progress in your development. After I repeated the correct drills for my ideal game moment, I came back from an off season scoring 17 goals in just 10 games as a center midfielder. And that's when I committed to play D1. In fact, one of the center mids that I work with was in a similar spot. Grayson had been training on his own for a while. And even though his touch may have gotten better here and there and he felt like he was improving a little bit, it wasn't at the rate that he knew it needed to be if he wanted to get to the next level. So with Grayson, we focused on the ideal game moment of receiving the ball from his outside back, getting really good at turning out the other way, and hitting that 20 to 30 yards forwards pass to his opposite side center mid. After just a few weeks, he was way more confident in this exact situation because we built out the specific training plan to make it happen. And now his coaches are seeing how fast that he's improving too. So if you want this entire process personalized to you, you can apply to work with me. You can just click the first link in the description. But back to the in-season strategy. The second part of this is to watch film using the takeaway approach. Watching film properly is really how you put together a breakout season. And most center mids are watching film completely wrong. Well, they could do it in just 15 minutes a week. I'm not exaggerating. And it doesn't require any more load on your legs, so you can get better without even training. So that's why this is the sauce. So here it is, the takeaway approach. There's been studies done that in order to actually learn something, we need to retrieve the information ourselves. Pretty much, if you actually want to get better, you have to be able to write down a takeaway from what you watched or you learned. That's why the summaries that your teacher makes you do in school are actually so important, because if you just watched a 20-minute history lesson and didn't write down any takeaways, you would just nod your head and say that you're understanding and then wouldn't be ready when the test hits. So the takeaway approach solves this with watching film. After you finish watching your film and taking some notes, make sure you finish with this one question. So what? And that's your takeaway. What actually matters from everything that you just learned in your film? And it's really important that you just identify one key takeaway. When I send the athletes in my program their film analysis video, I encourage them not to write out 2, 3, and especially not 4 or 5 takeaways, but just the one that's most important for them. That way they have something clear easier to take action on. Because let's not forget, if you don't actually take action on what you learn or something that you see, nothing actually changes and you don't get better. So if you're super talented and you're working hard and you're even watching your own film sometimes, this is probably why you're not playing to your potential in games, because you haven't been focusing on just having one takeaway from your film. Honestly, doing cone drills with an in-person private trainer once or twice a week won't fix this, because when you're in season, you need the one-on-one support on your film as well, not just more TikTok drills. So the third step to the in-season approach is to plan out your sessions the proper way. Since you have less time to train and the training is more important, this part of your process must be dialed in. I plan on my athletes' sessions 4 weeks at a time. That way we can make sure that we're able to consistently get the work in while planning for school events, family, travel, team training, games, you get it. So start by planning out the next 4 weeks and writing in the games and the team training schedule that you have. That way you can see what times you're available to train on your own. But this next step is most important. You need to stack your days with the load. So what do I mean by stacking days? To the best of your ability, you want to keep your high intensity load together. And if you're still a little bit confused, I got you. I'll explain it this way. So you need to think of your recovery as a timer. Every single time you exercise, even if it's light, like juggling, wall passing, whatever, you reset the recovery timer. Because when you do that, even if it's light, your muscles have to warm up, do the action, and then cool down again. So stacking days means optimizing your recovery time to make sure you're taking care of your body while you're in season. I'll give you an example. That means if you have team training today at 6 p.m. and you have team training tomorrow at 6 p.m., if you're gonna get extra work in, don't do it tomorrow morning, because that's right in the middle of the 2 training sessions. It's gonna interrupt your recovery timer. Instead, try to do your session either before or after your team session. That's what I mean by stacking days. And that's gonna give your body enough time to recover in between the next training session. So there are the 3 parts of the in-season training strategy that you can implement starting today. But like I promised earlier, this 4th tip will really put things together. It's getting feedback. I'll be honest, it took me way too long to understand this part of my development and why it's so important, because I didn't understand that the way to develop faster than everybody else is to get feedback from someone who's been at the level. There's a few different ways that you can get feedback on what you're doing. You can show them the film takeaway like we talked about earlier, and also maybe some film clips to get their thoughts. And you can also bring up to a coach what we chatted about with the ideal game moment. Tell them what your moment is and what you can do to work on it and be more effective with it in games. If you can get feedback on literally everything that you're doing, it can be the difference between having an above average season and having that breakout season that gets college attention. And I'm assuming since you're still watching this video, you're not looking for just an above average season. So if you want the personalized feedback and structure on your film and your training so you can make sure you're reaching your potential this season and playing at your best, you can apply to work with me one-on-one through a 12-week remote program specifically designed for center mids so they can get to the next level. If you scroll down, it's gonna be the first link in the description. There's gonna be a video for you to watch that explains the process and a button where you can apply, and then we'll get in touch and see if it makes sense for us to work together. Talk to you soon.